Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to Right Side Up. My name is Mike Taglavia. My guest host again today, this morning, is Allison Despathy. Allison, thank you so much for joining me. Glad to have you back.
Thank you so much. Good morning.
So, as usual, there's far more to talk about than we have time for. So, let's just dive right into this. Lots going on in Montpelier. I don't know about you, but I feel like we are getting close to a tipping point. I really believe that even though a lot of people are silent, they're keeping their heads down, they're very unhappy with the situation that's going on. And Vermonters are a different breed. They're very quiet, but that doesn't mean because they're quiet, they're not dissatisfied or upset or even angry about what's going on. And you don't find out until the election's over.
Right, where they say their piece.
So, yeah. So, like I was, and a lot of my Republican caucus members were elected in 24 based on a tax revolt. They were sick and tired of what was going on. And now we're seeing a lot of the revolt and the pushback against the legislation that came out of supermajorities.
Yes.
And how the governor was overridden and how the governor warned. And here we go.
Yes.
Here we go. So first thing we're going to cover is a caucus member of mine, a committee mate of mine, Rob North, www.northforvthouse.com. This is his blog. It's very good. If you want to check it out, he's written a number of really good blogs, but this is one of the good ones, and this is his most recent one. By my personal count, we've passed 37 bills on the floor of the House thus far this year. Very few of those carry any real impact that will actually help Vermonters, and none of them address the affordability crisis. And before you and I went on air, to break from his blog real quick, stonewalling, slow walking, and basically what it's doing is sabotaging the agenda of the people who voted last election in this state.
Yes.
The majority of people voted that said, no, stop, we want change. We don't like the direction you're taking this state, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Let's get a little bit deeper into this. At halfway through the second year of the biennium, the governor has signed only 2 bills into law this year. I'm told this is an extraordinarily small number. One was a Budget Adjustment Act, a simple annual accounting adjustment. The other, an act relating to the use of synthetic media in elections. Think AI-generated fakes. While good things, these certainly don't even come close to addressing the real problems we Vermonters are facing. And he's absolutely correct.
Yep.
The only silver lining in this cloud is that with more than a super minority in both chambers, at least no more really bad bills were passed, which is basically what we've been doing both this session, trying to make bad bills less harmful, and the same last session, okay? And now he gets into a little bit more specifics. H602 and S267, along with a host of other land use, permit reform, and housing bills, and you can look at some of his previous newsletters where he gets into those, were assigned to environment committees in the House and Senate, where they languished on the wall, and still do, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, and now, post-crossover, are dead. The chair of our environmental committee purposely wasted 2.5 months of our committee time taking testimony on topics completely unrelated to the affordability crisis at hand, while these critically important bills sat on our wall unaddressed. And ladies and gentlemen, I have to tell you, it was not for lack of trying by a number of us trying to move those bills and get discussion and get debate, because that's what it's all about. When confronted about these bills assigned to our committee, whether they would be addressed, our chair flatly told me, quote, they won't. Vermonters asked for a plan. The administration and Republicans have delivered a plan, and the majority party ignores the plan. This is why I say sabotage.
Yes.
With the legislative tactics that the majority party is taking, it's basically a it's just, like I said, slow walking, marking time to try to get to another election to bamboozle the voters into giving them a bigger majority, or, heaven forbid, a supermajority again.
Oh no, that cannot happen.
No,
and hoping
no.
that Vermonters are going to forget. I mean, we had the clean heat standard. I rarely rallied
Yes.
so hard against that. We had the clean heat standard. We had the property tax revolt.
Yep.
All of that's been ignored, and I think there's a lot of, obviously nothing happening, but people just hoping, legislators who want to get reelected who haven't taken action, hoping that people are going to forget. And we cannot forget. We have to remember,
No.
we elected you guys in there for a reason, and you're being ignored, unfortunately.
Yes, we
Yeah.
definitely are. And, it's one thing like H767, my bill, the moratorium bill, which would have given us the chance to see if these bills, these acts, 181, 59, clean heat standard, renewable energy standard, and there's one more that I'm forgetting right now. I think there were 5 in there. Anyway, to just see if, tap the brakes on them, stop them dead in their tracks, and see if those acts were actually part of the cause of the affordability and housing crisis.
Right.
Just, that's all it was.
But it is also, Mike, I would say, getting ahead of it. So we know that the clean heat standard was an issue, right?
Yes, absolutely
And we know
it
that
was.
there's a property tax issue, and here we are again. But the renewable energy standard, we haven't even seen the light of day, and no action's been taken on that. And that is going to smash people so hard
Yes.
from a cost standpoint. We've got to get ahead of that. But all of it's being, and that's Rob North's bill. So back to
Yeah,
North.
yes.
Yes.
So only one housing and land use related bill made it through crossover, S325. This came out of the Senate, ladies and gentlemen. It proposes to delay some elements of Act 181, such as the Tier 3 determination and the, quote, road rule. Road rule is bad news for rural Vermont. Tier 3, the way the maps and the designations are, is really also pretty awful also. Impacts of which I've discussed in previous newsletter. Like I said, Rob North does really good blogs, so if you want to read some stuff that's really giving you information and more homework and ways to delve deeper into what's going on, I highly recommend reading some of his. Ann Watson, chair of Senate Natural Resources Committee, was nearly giddy over getting this bill out before crossover, while offering a desperately needed stalling of the Act 181 implementation dates. It falls short of what really is really needed to aid housing and protect rural towns and rural Vermonters. We need more than a delay. We need repeal and reform. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, Alice and I were talking about this, the word reform. You need to be very careful. When someone talks to you about reform, you need to ask for the meat on the bone. What do they
Yes.
actually mean by reform? For me, and I believe you, Allison, as well, we're talking about relaxing of some of these regulations that for the longest time were helping to protect the state. Now they're doing more harm than good. We need rural Vermonters to be able to determine where they put their house at their will, not at the will of a distant legislator who thinks they are convinced for themselves that they know how best to run rural Vermonters' lives, because that's what's going on.
That's
Absolutely.
the problem. The only part of Act 181 that we need to keep in place is the new Land Use Review Board, so they can restore Act 250 to its original intent. Otherwise, it's got to go.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So in an election year, this type of delay tactic in the face of real crisis is just what we would expect. To borrow a quote from Rob Roper, some, quote, would rather make a statement than a difference, end quote. Okay. Governor Phil Scott and his cabinet, in his weekly press conference this past Wednesday, brilliantly addressed the situation at hand. Many laws were put into place over the past several years by overriding Governor Scott's veto. And we saw that. Thus bypassing a critical check and balance feature of our Constitution. Acts 181, Land Use Rules, and Act 59, Permanent Conservation of 50% of Vermont, the Global Warming Solutions Act, and Affordable Heat Act, aka Clean Heat Standard, are just a few examples. None of these extraordinarily costly laws would even be in place had Vermonters not put a supermajority in both chambers of the legislature.
Right.
So hopefully we've learned that that is not the way to get balance, to have a serious debate and get legislation out of Montpelier that actually is going to drive what we want.
Right.
Reduce the housing crisis, increase wages, increase the quality of our schools, increase public safety. What else?
And leave people alone.
leave-
and let them
how many
spend
of
their
you, ladies
hard-earned
and-
money the way that they should
Yes.
and could and would.
How many
I
of
know.
you over coffee or breakfast or dinner or whatever have said, I just want to be left alone?
Right,
Well,
I
there
know.
are some of us in Montpelier who are trying to leave you alone.
And to
We
get
are-
back to
yeah.
that, Vermont used to be like that,
Yes.
and we have to restore it.
Yes.
Definitely.
So let's see. Quote, the issues I outlined in my veto letter are coming to fruition, and they're just as pertinent today as they were then, end quote, said the governor. As Housing Commissioner Alex Farrell points out, we have decades of evidence of the negative impacts Act 250 has had on our housing and economy, and we have evidence from the interim Act 250 exemptions that there are no unintended environmental consequences. All right, let's see here. A little bit more. On an interesting and maybe hopeful twist, crossover day ended on the House floor with a bill unrelated to these topics. And this, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't looked, you might want to go back and look. This is for Friday. What was Friday's date? I can't remember. Today's 16.
The
so-
13th. It was a Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th,
Right,
right.
right.
H542, quote, an act relating to termination of PCB testing in schools, end quote. Ladies and gentlemen, can you remember the hysteria over this one? We have to test this because of our kids. We have to worry about the kids. If you're against this, you're against the kids.
Right.
Okay. Which passed with a wide majority in the House on Friday. 542. You can listen, and in his blog, on his website, he has the link where you can start. Let's see. Starting at the 249 mark, we had pretty long debate on Friday. The reasoning given for terminating the PCB testing in schools by Peter Conlon, Democrat from Cornwall, chair of the House Education Committee and presenter of the bill, was astonishing. Quote, this bill would remove the deadline and essentially end the air testing program for any untested schools since there is no money to pay for it for any remediation, end quote. Wow. And after an hour of vehement debate over PCB contamination and the health of our children, amendments offered and roll call votes taken, this bill passed overwhelmingly with full support of the majority party leadership and its members. I'm going to break from the blog here.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, the majority, Allison, you can disagree with me if you wish, but I don't think you will. They've decided, and they fixed it for us. From now on, if we don't have the money for a program, it has to die.
Right.
That means we could probably, this week, if we really took the advice of the majority, we could probably cut almost $2 billion from our budget.
Can you imagine?
Wouldn't that be wonderful?
It would be awesome.
How much of a deep breath? Hell, they'd hear us taking a deep breath all the way from California.
Right. But I just have to say that just makes me so sad about here we have kids,
Yeah.
surrounded with PCBs. I've got 3 kids. I've got 2 grandkids. I'm a nutritionist. I care a lot about health and a clean environment and no toxins. And we're dumping hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars into climate policy and chasing carbon, yet we cannot do this for the kids.
Well, it was because they were looking for money for testing to try to, I guess,
Right.
close schools. They got the
Right.
Burlington school closed. Look at that's already over
Right.
budget, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, just a little.
So, and now we got that. So guess what? We're going to close the program.
Right.
It's amazing. So
know.
just a little bit more here. The
But
bottom
again,
line
it's
was
virtue
yeah.
signaling. I'm sorry. Here's
you're
the
right.
problem, but we're not going to do anything about it because we don't have any money.
You're absolutely right.
It's disturbing.
And I just remembered or just looked, and you're only half on camera. That's horrible.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, guys.
The bottom line was we didn't adequately assess the cost before we started. We don't have the money to pay for it. We can't afford it, so we're canceling it. There you have it, folks. The precedent has been set, I think, of a number of other programs from which we didn't adequately assess the cost, don't have the money for, and can't afford. I'm sure you can too. The house of cards that the majority party has built over the past couple decades is on fire and about to topple. So
And this is
Rob
one
North.
of many
Yes.
examples, unfortunately.
And one of many. And
I
by the
know.
way, the title of his blog, which I didn't give you, was where the heck did I put it now? It's basically the House of
House
Cards
of
is
Cards
on fire.
on fire, exactly.
So yeah, here it is.
Well, we're seeing it. Act 181 is a disaster. Clean heat standard still hasn't been repealed.
Right.
Nothing's
House
been
of
done
Cards on
about the
fire.
renewable energy standard. There's nothing happening from a property tax relief standpoint. I mean,
We-
what has been done?
Well, we need to get away from legislating on emotion and doing things that are practical, reasonable, data-based, and are actually going to help us.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
now that we've run over, and my engineer is probably going to be mad at me, we're going to need to take a break, fix a camera, pay some bills, and we'll be right back. You're listening to Right Side Up.
That's great. I should have known.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to Right Side Up. My name is Mike Taglavia. My co-host is Allison Despathy. We managed to get the camera fixed. So,
Yes. Hello.
so we're going to talk a little bit about S325 as it relates to Act 181. Act 181 has been getting a lot of
Wow.
negative press, as I believe it probably should, because it's not reform at all.
No. And it's a
many-
rallying point.
Yes,
People are
it is.
ralllying around that to point out the problems. Yes.
Yes. So, two key things with S325. It pushes out road rule implementation all the way to January 1st, I believe, of 2030. I know the year is correct. I can't remember if it's mid-year or January 1 of 2030.
Yep.
So that's a good thing. That gives the Land Use Review Board and the public at large time to figure this out, find out where we go.
Or just repeal it. Gives us time to
yeah,
repeal it.
okay,
That's really
right.
our goal.
And you know,
definitely.
it passed out. S325 passed out of the Senate. It will go to House Environment Committee, so it will get beat up and kicked around, and we'll see how it goes. But
But at least you'll have a
we have
real
a good starting
chance
point.
with
Yes.
your eyes on it. Definitely, Mike.
Yes, definitely.
You guys got good people in there looking at it.
Right. So we've got that. What else is the Land Use Review Board? I think they get put out all the way. Their report gets put out to 2028. So there's more time for them to complete their work.
Right. But
Which
really,
is
the
good.
bottom line is we just need the extension at this point, so then we can make sure we get the right people in there and more support for you guys and repeal it.
You heard it.
That
you
is
heard
it.
Say that again.
We've just got to
More
repeal
people.
it. Yes, more people. And the only way, Act 181 is an attack on Vermonters. It is
It's-
an absolute distortion.
I said this earlier this morning.
Yes.
It is. There are too many people currently in the State House in Montpelier right now who, with respect to our land, forested and agricultural land, who believe Vermonters, rural Vermonters, are the weeds on the landscape that need to be eliminated.
Devastating, right?
This is. I'm not trying to be hyperbolic.
Right.
When you walk around, if you go on and listen to some of the testimony about and some of the rules and some of the requirements, the permitting, and the number of years.
Right.
We're talking about, and I sat on a number of the. Let's see, what is it? The Caucus for the Economy of Vermont.
Oh, yep.
Listening to some business owners who are trying to expand, whether it be housing or a dealership for something, trying to increase their business, increase their payroll, in other words, hire people,
Right.
and go through 3 years of Act 250 permitting, and more than 2/3 of the way, 3/4 of the way or more, to $1 million before a single shovel goes in the ground.
Right. And this is where
We
I think
need to
that
fix this.
We do need to fix it. And I think that people also need to understand, like, Act 250 came along for a reason under
Yes.
Dean Davis, Republican governor. It absolutely serves a purpose to do good commercial development that's not going to pollute Vermont or the environment or
Yeah.
hurt neighbors or communities. So you look, for example, at the data center bill that's coming through.
Yes.
If data centers come, we absolutely need to make sure, and it looks like it's happening, that it's going to go through Act 250. We don't need water contamination. We don't need PFAS in the water.
Right,
The
right.
sound of these things, there are horrible
a-
sounds
yes.
coming from the data centers. So when you look at that, when you look at telecom, solar siting, there is a place for Act 250. But Act 181 was never reformed. And if anything, it's going to create barriers for Vermonters trying to build a home, for Vermonters who live in rural areas and farmers. That's the problem with Act 181. And that's the
Yeah.
attack. And that's why it's got to go. Keep the Land Use Review Board in place and let them fix Act 250 to do the job it's intended to do, so we can make sure that we're not what's being exterminated from
Right.
Vermont, because
Exactly.
that's what's happening.
Exactly. And I was just
Right.
reading on social media on Facebook. There's one person posted something about their town having a higher population in the mid 1800s than they do now. We need to restore some of the lost farms in this state. Act 181 would make it difficult for someone to buy land that had no structures on it
Right.
to restore that farmland, what was probably now in timber, to even partial agriculture right.
Right.
now. That doesn't make any sense.
Right.
If we are a state that's, number one, very environmentally conscious, which we are, but we also want to be able to grow our own food, then why would we make it so hard for people to get either back into farming, meaning a son or a daughter from a farm family trying to start their own, on their own piece of land, or to restore a piece of land that for maybe 5 decades or a century has not been used in farming. And I can tell you from my own experience, my own land, I know was an operational farm. You can tell just by the foundations that are on it.
Right,
Both
right.
from the houses and from the barn foundations.
And there's more and more young farmers who are coming in who want to do these small diversified farms to help feed their communities, to connect with the schools. You
Yes.
know, I mean, we have to support that. And I think that everything we're seeing with Act 181, as well as some of the other supermajority laws, unfortunately, that are in place that we're trying to repeal or fix, is that this is setting it up where us Vermonters are not going to be able to afford to live here, to buy land, to build homes, and we're creating a country club.
You're
and
absolutely
we
right.
absolutely cannot have that be the case. We love Vermont. We want to stay here, and we need some action. And that goes back to Rob North's, the House of Cards on Fire. I think
Yes.
we're seeing the collateral damage that the supermajority has put in place, and it's this really tough transformation right now where we've got to fix it and change it.
You're
We have
absolutely
to,
right.
before we get the actual, even more damage from it.
Yeah.
And that's, we're seeing ahead. We got to look ahead, and you guys are in there, and we need to get you guys supported. And I'm really hoping that people are tuned in on this next election cycle, because if we can get more numbers in there, we can turn this around and do it right for Vermont.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the idea that you can get a young farmer who wants to start from nothing and slowly build up a business. We don't have the environment that is conducive to that right now. If you don't bring a lot of money to the table right from the get-go, then you're almost guaranteed not to be successful.
And Act 181
yeah.
only makes it more difficult, because
absolutely
that's
it
the
does.
place-based versus the project-based. Act 250 should be about projects that need that level of oversight, not just, oh, you live on this land here and we determine that you have, these headwaters, or we determine you have a wildlife corridor, and now you try to go do something, you're going to trigger Act 250 and you've got all these other costs. I mean, who would
Yeah.
create that? The fact that moved through, it literally blows my mind. And like I said,
Well,
I have lobbied.
yeah.
I lobbied hard against that. You can see it when you're in there. You see the stuff coming, and you're like, oh no, we got to fight that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there is, like you said, there's a serious groundswell, and it's still gaining momentum. There's an Act 181 Facebook page
Yep.
that more and more people are posting to. They're posting their reactions to articles, but even more importantly, there are more and more articles every day with personal experiences from, you know, families that have been here for generations who want to have their kids and grandkids grow up on their land, and they're seeing the costs that are proposed in this Act 181, or could be proposed in this Act 181 legislation, and it's extremely prohibitive.
Right,
It's extremely
right.
prohibitive.
And people are absolutely rallying around it. And that brings us to what?
Yes.
Tuesday?
Yeah, Tuesday the 24th.
March 24th, 12
Yes.
o'clock at the State House. Please come out. There's going to be a big rally, completely every party.
Yes, this is a nonpartisan
It's
issue.
nonpartisan.
It really, truly
If you care
is.
about Vermont, if you care about rural Vermont, if you love this state, if you want to make sure you can continue to live here and any of your children or descendants can, you got to come out. And what are we fighting for? Repeal Act 181. That is the message.
That's the rally. Yes, it is.
That's the rally, yes.
And there will be legislators and senators.
Many.
Yes, many in attendance at the rally. So
Yes.
tell your friends. It's hopefully we have good weather, but it's probably going to be regardless of the weather. We will see if the weather is good. We may have it outside.
Yep.
But we'll have to see. We'll have
more
to see.
details to come, definitely.
Yes.
But we know at this point,
Yeah.
Tuesday the 24th,
Tuesday the
12
24th,
o'clock,
yes.
State House. Please show up because that's what it takes. It's going to take
Yes.
legislators to see, wow, we got to fix this.
Yeah, they will definitely, if we walk back into the building and the ones who didn't bother to attend find out that there was 1,000 people on that lawn, it's going to make a huge difference.
Yes. And some
So,
good speakers are
yes,
lined up, so there'll be
yes.
some good stories to tell so people
Yes.
can understand this. Yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely.
so,
I think more and more people are grasping it, and what it means.
They
so
certainly are, yeah.
Yeah.
And this is one of the reasons why we do this behind the microphone, to inform people of what's going on, to try to get people involved. And people, it's really interesting. Once you get over that initial fear of going to the State House and walking around, it's the people's house. We
It
keep
is.
getting told this time after time. It's the people's house.
and the people have to come.
And the people have to come.
Right, and engage.
Wander
yes.
around, find your way to the cafeteria, see the goings on.
Right.
Find your way to a committee that you have an interest in, and just sit in there and listen.
Right. Have the
Because,
conversations. Yes.
I'll almost guarantee you it will be an eye opener for you, and you will probably find that you want to attend more because you will walk out and say, "I can't believe I heard that."
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
I know I walk out of there saying that sometimes.
Right.
So
it's
I can
messy.
imagine.
It's a messy
Yeah.
process. And the more voices are in there from people who care and want to see good stuff happen, that's what we need, because we have to acknowledge also the number of special interest, some of
Yes.
the power that special interest has. So if the people aren't at the table or there's not enough support for that, we will never get that balanced conversation and good law. We
Right.
need that. Absolutely.
And for me, it's all about, what is the heritage and the history of Vermont? It's rural.
Yeah.
People don't think of the city of Burlington the way it looks today as why they want to come to Vermont.
Right.
They think of pastoral views. They think of skiing, hiking,
Right.
cycling, camping, water sports,
Right.
fishing, hunting, you name it. These are the things that are going to become harder and harder for you to do, to practice, to live, instead of just seeing them in a history book or a museum.
No, we can't have that happen. No way.
We want to grow more farms in this state,
Right.
and this legislation makes it harder.
Right. And that's where it's rural. It's also respect. I'd say
Yes.
respect of differences, honoring our differences.
There you go.
Privacy, like being able to be private and live our lives and not have people. I mean, we're constantly in battle against, don't charge us more for our heat. Don't charge us more for gas. Don't make me drive this type of car. Don't force me into this school. It's
Right.
like, try to just step back and respect. We're all our own individuals. We can make decisions for ourselves. And if we can get back to that rural respect and,
Yeah.
and just being able to be private
Yeah.
and take our time and do our thing,
I'm
that would be
not
amazing.
against
Wouldn't
it.
that be incredible? We
It,
gotta.
it
let's-
certainly would. It certainly would.
Let's work on that.
Yeah. I have no problem with somebody wants to live in a more densely populated area where you're so close to your neighbor. That's great. But there are many who really like the peace and quiet and tranquility that rural Vermont living affords you.
Right.
And the legislation of the past 2 bienniums has not been rural Vermont living friendly. It really has not.
Right.
Unless, of course, like you brought up, and I've brought it up numerous times, unless it's aimed at the country club atmosphere,
Right,
which
right.
a lot of rural Vermonters right now are not interested in number one. Number two, it would be too cost prohibitive. So these are the things that we try to spur conversations about, and hopefully we make you interested enough that you get on that computer or smartphone and find the Vermont.gov website and find your legislator, find the committees they're on, find something. Maybe you've got a friend or a neighbor. Maybe it's education, which we're probably going to be talking about next segment, right?
Right.
So
Yep, definitely.
there's always, I will guarantee you, if you look long enough, and it won't take you long, you're going to find something that you found that the legislature is messing with, and it's something that's near and dear to your heart, and you
Right.
don't want them messing with it. So
And that's usually what makes people come in and go, okay, I'm going to
yeah,
get involved
enough
here.
is enough.
Exactly.
So, all right, well, we burned through another one, so we're going to take a break, and we will return shortly. You're listening to Right Side Up. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to Right Side Up. My name is Mike Taglavia. My co-host today is Allison Despethy. Before we get back into our discussion, I just want to remind our listeners, rightsideUpradio@gmail.com if you'd like to drop us a line. If for some reason you're unable to listen to us on WNTK Radio, you can go to WNTK.com. Click on the podcast button. You'll be able to listen to any number of our shows. If you scroll down the right side up, you'll be able to find a number of them. And by all means, please share them. You can find us on Podbean. You can find us on 802 Scoop Facebook. You can find us on 802 Scoop YouTube, and also at granitegrok.com. So before we get into the education discussion, because it's still... Act 73 is not dead. It's still on life support, but it's still there, and I'm glad we're still having this discussion because leaving it status quo is not a fix. There was H606 that came out of Judiciary. This is a gun bill. It was made better. I'm sure it's not perfect, but it was made better. It still needs to get voted out of the floor and then get sent to the Senate. So we still have the opportunity to make it better or possibly just make it go away. So we'll see what happens. But I just wanted to do a little bit on 606 because I know there was some inquiries about it. Let's get into this education discussion now.
Yes.
So there's still a proposal here, a proposal there. The last one I saw on House education, I think it was the last one from the chair, Peter Conlon, I did not like because it basically destroys the idea of tuitioning
Yes.
that's existing right now. So it makes for less choice, if you will, and the districts like mine that have 3 towns that have tuitioning are like, no, thank you very much.
Exactly. I think most of the state is saying no thank
Yes.
you to that. And
Yes.
today I was talking to Bill Sayre on the Notch Radio, who, what an
Yep.
amazing man. I'm not sure how old he is, but he has been in this for so long. He
Yes.
is so full of wisdom, and his historical knowledge is incredible.
Yep.
And he said to me today on the radio, he said, I hope Peter Conlon, went way, way crazy just to engage people and pull us into the conversation. But I don't know, because
I don't know about that.
Gone
but-
with town tuitioning for all of us, lock us into the system, right? And then we got Bongarts, so that brings us to our press conference.
Yes.
So you and Senator Heffernan, right?
Yes, and others.
Yep.
But Senator Heffernan and I are be speaking at this press conference, which is actually by airtime. It'll be today at 1 p.m.
Yes, at the
So
State House.
March 17th
Yep.
in the Cedar Creek Room at the State House, and we will be talking about. Let's see. There's a group, EdWatch Vermont, which is basically about educational opportunities for students. Look, and for me, it's very simple. I've been saying this now for quite a while. Why not make Vermont a destination state for tuitioning, for school choice, for educational opportunity, however you want to slice it?
Yes.
We would then be, I think, not worrying about closing schools because we would repopulate our schools, right?
Yes.
I know it's going to take more than just this. We need to deal with some of the other issues regarding affordability.
But parents will come. That
Yeah,
would be so
absolutely they
attractive
will.
if they
Yes.
know if they've got options for their children. That's a high priority.
Absolutely it is.
Yes.
So why not do that?
Yep.
We could, if we have these opportunities coming from the business world, I know if there's competition, then you have improved quality and it's going to moderate the price.
Yes.
And we also have that opportunity. Let's see, it's a money bill. It would be considered a money bill. So it's got a little bit more time. Representative Feltus's bill,
Oh,
which
yes.
dealing with the
Foundation
formula.
Amazing.
Lock it in now.
Yes.
So some of these schools that are these districts that are high spenders that think, okay, we're just going to send our invoice to the state and it will get locked into the average. So the districts like two of my schools that in my district, I mean, not mine, but that are very good at budgeting.
Yes.
That had only a 1.3% increase, but are staring down the barrel of the 12% increase because
I know.
of the big spending districts.
Yes.
And there were people who made comments who know exactly the problem. It's not their small district that is very budget conscious. They know Montpelier is the issue.
Right. And
I
we
mean, it
have
was
to attach,
said.
you have to attach
Yes.
the taxpayers to closer to the budgets.
Yes.
So we have to be aware of that part of it. And as one of the co-directors at EdWatch Vermont, I just want to point people to edwatchvt.org because our biggest
Sure.
goal, as you said, is we want to bring parents into the conversation. We want this educational opportunity and we want to make sure parents and students are in this conversation so we can create that right educational system here in Vermont, which we have the opportunity to do.
Right.
Town tuitioning
Right.
for all and the foundation formula for taxpayer control, right?
Yes.
Cost control. And we would do it. There we are.
Yeah.
It could be that simple.
Yeah. You know what? It's funny. It could be that simple. We too many times in the legislature come up with some of the most convoluted,
Yes.
complicated solutions. And if we would just get back to basics,
Yes.
I think everybody in Vermont would then be able to have a more affordable way of life. and more
Simplify,
affordable- Yeah.
simplify.
Yes.
I mean, my gosh,
Yes.
look at these bills that come through. How many pages are they?
Yeah.
Who's read them? Who understands them?
Well, yeah,
You know?
and who's helping to write them?
Yes.
One of the things I believe it came out of some of the testimony on 181, where
Mm-hmm.
people were asking, there were senators asking, well, who actually wrote this?
Right.
This legislation. One senator was under the impression in the beginning that it was written by Ledge Council, and apparently it was not.
Not.
So these are the things that people, this is why we get behind the microphone and talk, because now you know, ladies and gentlemen, there are so-called advocates. They're lobbyists who call themselves something else because it sounds more innocuous,
Yep.
less threatening,
Right.
and they're offering language that may be favorable to a very small minority, but
Right.
not favorable to the vast majority of Vermonters. So
Right.
you need to keep this in mind.
That's a huge thing for us to tune into. And when it comes to the education system, we have to make sure that we are not just building a monopoly. Because if
No.
we know the way a monopoly is going to go is things are going to cost more, quality is going to go down. We absolutely cannot have that. And anytime you talk about subsidizing, so if we're getting a subsidized education because it's in our constitution, we're getting money, it has to go to the consumer. right?
Yeah.
If it goes to the industry or it goes to the institution, we know that the quality is going to be on the downhill, and that's what we're seeing happen right now. We
Yeah.
need to have the options and open this up and make sure the consumer gets it, us, so we have that choice for our kids.
Yeah, and the nice thing I like about now we have the independent schools, but I think it should be opened up to, for charter schools, the whole gamut.
Right.
Because then we would have a better metric to compare against. Why not? Why
Right.
not do that? Because then we could, through those scores and comparisons, we could change our requirements to say, look, we know what kind of performance we're getting out of certain curriculums and certain types of schools. This is where we're leaning. We want you. We're going to up the standard. Why not? Why not Vermont be the top? Maybe a benchmark state for test scores.
Right, that
Wouldn't
would be amazing.
That would be
I
amazing.
know. And I think also keeping in mind, just as a teacher at the Vermont State College for 25 years with 3 kids who've done homeschool, public school, and independent school, just remembering that kids all learn in different ways.
Yes.
And we don't have to have this quote unquote equitable system where every school offers the same thing. That's the last thing we want. We need diversity and we need options. And what might be educational opportunity for one child is going to be very different for another child. You
Yeah.
know, and that's where we need the difference. Whether it's a small school, a big school, whether it's 14 languages or one language, that doesn't matter. It matters what the parents and the student choose is that best fit for them.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, how many of you out there like skiing? Would you like a one-size-fits-all ski boot? I
Right.
don't think you do
Ouch.
very well going downhill.
Exactly.
So why do it for our school system?
Right. We have to honor that difference.
Yeah.
We really do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And here again, the kids, they will find out. They will find out how good or bad their education is after graduation. It's
Right.
far too late.
Launch right out there.
Far too late.
Right. We have to make sure kids are getting the basics. They have to be reading. They have to be able to write. We want them to be able to think, not be indoctrinated or trained.
Yes, how
we
to
want
analyze
them to critically
something.
think. Exactly.
Yes.
I know. That's a big
Yes.
deal.
You know-
And that's where I just want to remind people. I've had a lot of people reaching out to me at edwatchvt.org.
Yep.
And it's really amazing to hear family stories and what they think about how choice helped their children, how if they had choice, how much it could have helped their children, just all the different reasons why people seek that. And so we just invite again tomorrow with Ed Watch and then with Senator Heffernan and Rep. Mike Taglavia here, just invite everyone to come out and let your voice be heard and stand up in support for student-centered education, for school choice, for all Vermont kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely it would be a step in the right direction. It really,
Absolutely.
truly would. And it's sad, even when we were back this past summer with the task force,
Yes.
every single time somebody dared to utter the word choice,
Right.
it was roundly attacked.
I know.
There were maybe, I think, without doing an actual count, I think there were only 4 people who were really, truly favorable to the idea of choice. And it just doesn't seem to make sense, especially where I think we already have the scores to compare
Yeah.
to say, you can't be against this because we have proof that it works.
Right, exactly. And also, I think if you talk to any parent whose child has struggled and they haven't had that choice, then you're going to have that sympathy and empathy to understand that child
Yeah.
should have been somewhere else. And that's the path we've got to allow. We've got to allow a easy path for kids to get where they need to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We really do. And
Yep.
the other thing is, we want our kids to be happy when they get out of the car, walk out of the house, whether they're walking to school, taking a bus, whether you're driving them. When they walk through that door, we want them to be happy to get there
Yes.
because they're going to be better at learning. They're going to be in a better frame of mind. Right now, we have this teaching to the common denominator, and if there's one student in there who's disruptive because of the way the system is set up, if that student can't be removed to allow the rest of the class to learn at a different pace, at a better pace, then we're doing a disservice to the entire class.
Exactly. That cannot be allowed.
Yeah,
I know.
these are some of the things that I think with more opportunity,
Mm-hmm.
those things are going to get worked out in a very short time.
Yeah, and I think that's also going to help the issue that we have with the chronic absenteeism. If a
Yeah.
child wants to go to school, they want to go to school. And if they
Right.
don't, and it's stressful and they're not happy or there's bullying or whatever it might be, they're not going to want to go to school. And so that's another way to turn that around. So if we
Yes.
can open this up with the foundation formula, we're helping cost, we're helping the students, we're probably going to, I would imagine, really help the proficiency scores.
I
have
would
that
I would
option.
imagine it would.
Yeah, I would hope so, because we certainly need to go in the other direction than we've been heading.
Yeah, it would be nice to tip that curve in the correct direction, wouldn't
Exactly,
it? Yeah, it would
exactly.
be really great.
Yep.
It'd be nice to see us break the 50% mark with respect to scores in other states. I'd really like to see us in the top 80%.
I know.
And I think we should still get there. I think we're getting close. I'm glad the conversation is still open. A lot of people were very leery and still are, because we haven't come to any kind of agreement yet on where we're going. And we're in March.
Right. I say we
And-
just do the foundation formula, open up choice for all, start there, let's see what happens. And then next year, let new schools come into play.
Yeah, I think it would be a huge step in the right direction. But it's breaking that barrier that we're so close.
I know.
I really believe, I'm very, very optimistic, and I know there are a lot of people out there who are not, but I just think we're really close. And if we just get people to open their minds, or get a lot more emails and a lot more people showing up at the Cedar Creek room to make the education committee, number one,
Look,
open their eyes.
Exactly.
So-
Exactly.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you for joining us again. Thank you, Allison, for joining me. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, stay safe, stay informed, listen to Right Side Up.